Rosemary, would you like to get us started?
Let me just get myself set up here. So welcome everybody to our open table where we take time every week to learn about the efforts to respond to homelessness in Pierce County and renew our commitment to actions promoting safe and secure housing for everyone. We gather on the homelands of the Puyallup tribe of Indians who have stewarded this coastal home for thousands of years and call ourselves to listen to and uplift the voices and experiences of the indigenous people of this land and beyond. Today it's really cold, and we know people making home outside do not have the minimal support they need to make it safely through the freezing days and nights. So we gather blankets and serve soup, become overjoyed at finding an excellent large tent or scoring some hot water bottles or hand warmers. We welcome the donation of thousands of Bombas socks, collect coats and towels and toiletries, and host free food markets and hot dinners. Some of us share our living spaces, others work to make the spaces match. We are navigators, mentors, counselors, healers, and peers. We are people who know that not to take action is just another kind of action, and so we do what we have to do, whatever the negative voices say. Sometimes in the comments in the online Tacoma News Tribune that follow a sympathetic story about the challenges faced by those living in encampments or in other precarious situations, I see angry readers charged with some derision that such mitigating actions as we do just encourage people to be freeloaders and is evidence of ultimately ineffective and soft do-gooderism. But surely simply dismissing the catastrophe is not a realistic assessment of the state of our community. The suffering rings out as tents and other structures recently swept from one location are erected on yet another street corner or freeway underpass. As Mary Oliver says in a poem about reading of the horror of war in the morning paper, quote, "What dark part of my soul shivers? You don't want to know more about this." And then you don't know anything unless you do. Somehow, for some reason, those of us gathered here have decided, at least for now, that though some part of our soul shivers, we cannot look away from the suffering of our neighbors. Small actions, loud critiques, and patient but persistent lobbying and negotiating all fit in there somewhere. A bucket brigade and creative array of responses to this unrelenting humanitarian crisis. Today, I leave you with Mary Oliver's thoughts on not looking away in her poem, The Journey. She says, "One day you finally knew what you had to do and began, though the voices around you kept shouting that are bad advice, though the whole house began to tremble and you felt the old tug at your ankles, mend my life. Each voice cried, but you didn't stop. You knew what you had to do, though the wind pried with its stiff fingers at the very foundations, and though their melancholy was terrible. It was already late enough and a wild night, and the road full of fallen branches and stones, but little by little, as you left their voice behind, the stars began to burn through the sheets of clouds, and there was a new voice, which you slowly recognized as your own, that kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to save the only life you could save." So welcome to our conversation as we begin the month of December and its cold and challenging times. For those of you who are new, I'll just remind you of our norms for activity together here is to keep ourselves muted when we're not talking, to use the Zoom's hand raise function if you want to say something, to limit distractions by turning off your camera if you need to take another call or do something else. We encourage you to use the chat as a space for announcements, networking, asking follow-up questions, sharing ideas about what is being presented that might not have time for a live conversation. We save this and it's available after the meeting, and you can save it yourself as well. We also have community norms for our conversation, but I'll say today that our basic one is that we respect one another, try to make time for one another, and pay attention to the most vulnerable among us so that we're not taking up too much space with ideas we think are so important to us. So with that, I'd like to welcome those of you who are new or who've been away for some time to let yourself be known, to say your name and perhaps something a little about just to mention your organization. This is not a time for longer introductions. If you represent a group that might be willing to share your story with us, we have that as a possibility, and you can let us know in the chat that that's something you'd be up for doing. So someone who's new would like to begin that, and Rob or I can recognize you.
I'll go ahead and speak. I'm Jennifer Frisk. I'm with LASA. Jan's on this call with us, and kind of just thought it'd be a good idea for me to get in touch with everybody and see what these meetings are all about. So here I am today. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming, Jennifer. Great project. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
Well, there may be others who would like to say something. This is also an opportunity to use the chat to introduce yourself and say if you're with an organization to have any connections with others. So, 60 folks we recognize that here we all are, been here for a while, some of us, and you may be here only once or just the first time. So it's a little awkward sometimes to get to know ourselves, but here we are, and welcome to all of you who are coming here to check us out. And be sure to let us know who you are and what we can do to help you do your work. So Rob, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Rosemary. And let me just reinforce, please do use the chat. It's an ongoing resource for us. And it's a great way to carry on side conversations. But if you have information that you think is important for everyone to see, please go ahead and post it publicly in the chat because we do save and post this information. So it's a great way to share resources with a larger community of us. Let's move to our first regular standing item, and that is this week on the streets. The purpose of this section of the meeting, and I know there's going to be a lot to talk about here, is to share what we're seeing people experiencing on the streets this week, what the needs are, and anything that would be helpful for the 65 of us in this room to be able to lend our helping hand and weight to help people get through what they're encountering right now on the streets, and hopefully provide some pathways to housing for folks. So I will open the floor. If you can just use the raise hand function, or if you're on screen, just raise your hand. I'll go ahead and call on people and we can get started. And I see Monique's actual hand. So go ahead, Monique.
Thank you for seeing my actual hand. Can I ask Tammy to please give us an update about what's going on at Fob Hope?
Sure can. Pierce County Emergency Management came through yesterday with the fire marshal and made a few recommendations on getting some heat in there. The fire marshal said that we could use the heater buddies if we use the 1 pound propane tanks, but he's Pierce County, not City of Tacoma. And I was just on the other meeting, and Vicki said she was going to speak with the fire marshal from the City of Tacoma to see if that's an option. But we still don't have heat in the tents. We're using a provider tent and putting about 10 cots in there, so our most vulnerable can at least have the heat they need. I doing everything I can to keep them warm because I refuse to lose anybody else. So that's the update on that. There still hasn't been a final solution.
Have you been given a timeline, Tammy, on when there may be some kind of solution?
No, I have not been given a timeline.
Okay.
There's also been some rumors going around that we had electricity and that we melted down some electrical box. Let me clear that up right now. We don't have electricity. We did not melt down any box. We have one box, and that's for the office trailer. We use that for the kitchen. So I'm not sure where all these things are getting out, but we still got guys over there cold, and ladies.
One more question for you. Are there, do you guys have hand warmers that are able to be used by folks there? So you at least have something like that?
We have hand warmers, we have body warmers, we have wool blankets. And that's pretty much what we're using. Hot water bottles were mentioned to use as well. So some of those were delivered yesterday. Thank you, Maureen, for that. And thank you all for helping. It's been amazing. But yeah, that we've been using a lot of hand warmers and body warmers.
Okay.
And wool blankets. It's kind of where we're at.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for the update, and I hope there's a final resolution soon.
Me too.
Anyone else with updates from what they're seeing on the streets this week? I saw Sally mention folks laying in doorways last night. I know I saw that I ran along 6th Avenue and dropped off hand warmers to the 1s and 2s I saw, but I saw that elsewhere in the city last night too. So anyone else with updates from what they're seeing on the streets? Yeah, Courtney.
Supply is water, but I just got backpacks. People also are asking for hats that cover ears or earmuffs or ears. But I feel like the other things are coming through in donations. So those are the things I'm not seeing addressed though.
Yeah, and you broke up there. I think you started out by saying you weren't seeing many folks have access to water. Is that correct?
Yes, sorry. I'm in the basement of a church.
Okay.
Water is needed, yes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for flagging that, and we'll see what we can work on there too. Anyone else? Richard, any updates from what you've been seeing?
No, just more of the same. We've been, I was out with Teresa with the food. Somebody gave us a 10-person dome tent yesterday that we got out over to the post office site. And just more of the same, blankets, hand warmers, and checking on people. So we'll be out.
Great, thank you, Richard. And Luis, I know you're on the call. Any updates you can give on how things are going at the 35th and Pacific site?
Yes, we have a delay on delivery of like our office trailer and the overhead shelters. We are there. We got the team that we have working there, but we also got a team from downtown going there, checking on everyone and making sure that everybody's okay. Also assisting in snow removal or if anything that needs to happen there. We are at capacity. So we already got every tent is filled. And I will continue to update as things get in place.
Thank you, Luis. And I know there was some confusion earlier in the week about whether folks at the gate there were accepting donations from the community and any of that kind of thing. Do you have any guidance on that?
The guidance is to coordinate through TRN, just like everything in any other campus. That way we don't have 7 people showing the same day. I will make it more specific in our website so we can maybe just do a separate one for donations, but everything goes through the normal process.
Okay, and the normal process is taking things to the donation center.
Correct, because we go
okay.
we go on specific needs, and then we can actually take that to them. That directly rather than have a whole bunch of stuff that we don't need there and don't have what we really need.
Yeah, it'd be great if that was clear on the website, because I do know folks do want to support the site. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Teresa, I see your hand up.
So I'm sorry if I missed this, Luis. Thank you for coming. It's really great to have you in the meeting. I don't know what happened with the waterproof, the non-waterproof tents. Did you end up putting another kind of tent on top of those?
We have tarps. The very same day that was identified, we had tarps over them before the famous press release came out, and we have that is temporary until we get the big overhead shelter logic type over them that are snow and windproof.
Okay, are you doing the same kind of thing they have at FOB?
It's a little bit bigger and stronger because this one have the sides also covered.
Okay, hopefully FOB will get some of those too then.
That would be nice. Yeah, one of the things that I looked at is the open ones, actually the wind gets inside of them. So that might be an issue. These ones actually are wind and snow rated. So we will not have that issue. One of the things that we are doing is going out every 30 minutes and making sure that there is no buildup of snow on the tarps because the weight could affect the tent. So we took that step because we understand until we get that, we will have to be very vigilant about that.
Yeah, this weather is hell on tents. So good luck with all of that.
Yeah, and I'll second the thank you for being here this morning, Luis. Real quick, Bob, anything you can offer updates from the peninsula? How are things going for folks out there?
We thank you to Jessica Hall. She came out Wednesday, actually met with 2 homeless gentlemen. Yeah, it's wonderful. When TRM can't come out, totally understandable. Jessica pitched in. She's as well now working on 2 other referrals that came out of that visit. Jay found some clothing and wet sleeping bags up on Point Fosdick, just out of up across the street from Panera. The individual was gone, but apparently had been visited by the fire department earlier in the day. I took up some clothing. Jay got it all arranged for them up there, and we hope they would come back, but we haven't seen them. The clothing's got, the new stuff's gone, so we hope they're off and running. We've talked to Officer Betts now, Deputy Sheriff of Pierce County, who he and his group patrol the KP. He's on board and he's calling us if he's finding anybody that's in trouble and keeping us updated as they reach out there, as well as the fire department. But we don't have any regular outreach, you know, day in, day out on the KP. So we'll get there.
Well, thank you for what you're able to do out there, Bob. And I'm sure the folks out there who are currently without good shelter are very thankful. And let's see, I didn't notice, do we have anybody from East Pierce County who could kind of give us a little bit of an update of what's being seen out there?
Hi, Rob. This is Paula. Yeah, so we're seeing more people at New Hope, of course. We've been opening our doors at 8 a.m. and keeping it open until 4:30-ish. Having people come in, get warm, giving them lots of meals, hot food. And then today is a Friday. Normally we are closed on the weekends. So on these days, we prepare extra lunches that they can then take with them. We did go out and distribute hand warmers, socks, food, drinks, protein drinks, out to the couple of encampments that we know that are off of Valley Avenue. Did that a couple of days, and we'll probably do that again today. If I can get some team members here, we've got people out. So that's what we're doing here, and then just trying to supply. We had Greater Lakes host team out here yesterday, just trying to supply them with the people that they're serving, so they're able to pick up some things and take them with them.
Thank you, Paula, for that update. And Jessica, anything you would, any particular needs or things that you need for the outreach that you guys are doing right now? I see you're on the call, but if you can't unmute, it's fine.
Sorry, 1 second. I'm in the car and we were on a phone. So give me a second here. Okay. No, not in particular. We're actually kind of on a roll with housing people, so it's taking a lot of time. But we've housed somebody every week for like the last 3 weeks, which has been awesome. And we've got a couple more, and we have a couple of other options for some people, but so we have not been able to get out very much, but that's what we're doing today, is out handing out stuff for winter. So we're in the Lakewood area right now. We're going to head to, we'll probably stay in Lakewood. We've got a lot of assessments to do here today, but that's where we're at. Okay, great. And awesome news to hear you're housing a lot of people. So that actually is a resolution to the problem. So thank you. All right. So any last items that folks want to share related to on the streets before we move on? All right, so let's transition real quick to just a reminder about the need and share sheet. Jan, do you want to talk about that, or Jay, or how do we want to do this?
I'll defer to Jay.
Sorry, I was distracted. Repeat one more time.
Yeah, we were just talking about the need, just a reminder for folks about the need and share section of the Google Sheet.
So right now, the Google Sheet is pretty much exactly how it was a couple of days ago. But if we could start adding to what we have, by tomorrow, there will be a simplified version of that with numbers and otherwise. Currently, when you're adding your need and share, just go ahead and go to the bottom, add the date. And then in the descriptor, if you could add the number of things that you need so that we can start getting that together. And then I can start searching for the item with the accurate number and starting to get the accurate information. The more that goes there, the more I can do. And I know that some of you can't access or don't have the time or otherwise. If you could just send me a list through email of what you need or what you can share, how many you have or how many you need, I would super appreciate it. I understand that the Google Docs is frustrating. I'm hoping that after I redo them this week, next week I can do a presentation and show everybody how to use them, how to access them, and the best way to enter information for that. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Jay. And Christine has noted in the chat that if you don't have access to the spreadsheet and you want to add something, just put it in the chat and she'll add it to the spreadsheet. I'm looking for the link to the Google Sheet here, and if I get a chance here at some point, I'll drop it in the chat, unless Jay beats me to it. So let's see. So let's move on to the next item in our agenda. And we were going to have a conversation about the a couple of items that are coming up before the Pierce County Council starting this next week, with opportunities for folks to voice their support for additional funding for affordable housing. So Rosemary, do you want to cue that up?
Yes, so I prepared 5 to 10 minutes of background and opportunities that we can take, since this is a new possibility for the county, and some of you may know much more about this than I do, so I apologize in advance for any mistakes I may make in the chronology. But I wanted to share with you how the state set the stage for this tax idea that's coming up, what Pierce County has done in the past, and how it's now prepared to try to do something as a council. The group that I represent today is called Revenue for Housing. I'll make a comment about that group, and then opportunities for you to do whatever you can to promote this new idea. So I had a problem with my printer this morning, so I have some things on the computer, so I may be reading a bit from that rather than doing what I usually do. So anyway, the state did set the stage for this. In 2020, the legislature provided local jurisdictions with a new funding tool to address the growing need for low-income housing and the homelessness crisis. In the regular session that year, with leadership from Beth Dolio, who was a prime sponsor of the bill, there was House Bill 1590, which is the state source for this potential tax. The legislation amended a previous taxing authority for a 1/10 of 1% sales tax into one that can be enacted by a county or city council as councilman manically, meaning it sounds like maniacally and didn't mean that, but council manically, by meaning the council itself can enact the tax. Previous law required this to go to the voters for approval. So Pierce County has dealt with this problem for some time, and we ourselves have been involved as a coalition in helping this to happen. Several plans exist for committing to ending homelessness and addressing it. There were comprehensive plans over a five-year plans in 2019, a couple of those. And then the comprehensive plan we've been talking about for some time was approved in 2021 to identify the need quite largely. This particular plan did not include broader low-income housing development strategies. For this, the county sought assistance from Burke Consulting, who presented a report in September of this year that called for multiple strategies to begin to address housing funding gaps. And this housing strategy included enacting a, quote, local tax as a potential funding source. It didn't identify this particular tax, but said this was one way the county could get some funds. So the County Council Human Services Committee reviewed this report and moved for its adoption in the committee on November 8th, just this past month. The committee passed the resolution, identified implementing actions, and established reporting requirements. Then this was presented to the full council for vote on that same day. The resolution proclaimed, and I quote this because I think it's a significant statement by the council, that, quote, Pierce County must be an active contributor by filling funding gaps and by providing financial support to the construction of affordable housing units in our county. The county itself has been a pass-through for most of the funding that has worked for housing. This is a statement that says the county itself, that means us as members of the county, should be an active contributor to this funding. That sets it up for thinking about the tax. So included in the directions to staff and the Housing Action Strategy resolution was a direction to produce a draft ordinance that implements a 1%, 1/10 of 1% for housing and related services sales tax, pursuant to all the things that you have to do to get an ordinance passed that goes well with this and doesn't contradict that. The resolution included other implementing strategies with similar directions to staff, and I want to just list these because they'll come up in any conversation you have. Expanding the scope of the multifamily tax exemption, expanding the role of the Pierce County Community Development Corporation, initiating consideration of amendments to increase the state Environmental Protection Act category exemptions and infill exemptions, where these are authorized by the state for something that could happen. But the focus of the discussion at the council study session and at the council meeting was on, and the resulting non-unanimous vote on the housing action strategy reflected the inclusion of drafting an ordinance to enact this specific tax. So at that meeting, for those of you who weren't able to participate or hadn't read about it, 4 members spoke in favor of the resolution and were specific in supporting the idea of a tax, though they addressed the other strategies as well. 1 council member was willing to adopt this housing action plan as a compilation of approaches, but expressed a preference for increasing the low-income housing stock by expanding the use of the low-income housing tax credit rather than enacting a new tax. 2 members of the council voted against the resolution. So we have a 5-2 vote for the housing action strategy in general, but would need to wait for specific legislative language about an ordinance that would be drafted by staff in order to move forward. So while that was a positive result on the housing action strategy, it was not a real result with regard to the tax. It just set up that an ordinance would be drafted. So enter the revenue for housing group. I just want to make a very brief comment about this because some of you might want to join us in our work. After the passage of House Bill 1590 in 2020, the group has gathered together to encourage Pierce County to adopt a small tax to create a stable source of funds that could be leveraged for other funding and for the housing projects and to cover related services. We currently meet every week on Monday mornings, convened by project initiator Carolyn Reed, to learn more about the realities of low-income housing and the potential for engaging all kinds of groups in ways that we haven't maybe thought of before. We've testified almost every week for the past 2 years at council meetings to support this tax, and so they've gotten to know us and maybe get a bit tired of us. But since they know who we are, and with adoption of this housing strategy, the members who are supportive of the tax reached out to us to talk about their timeline and to consider and seek our support in the passage of this tax, and encouraged us to share our views with the full council and with our network. So that's why I'm here today in response to that request to share it with this group, which it has already in the past taken a position on this tax. So we've already signed on to this letter, as that's one of the actions you can take. And individuals and agencies here who work in various spheres can demonstrate that there's wide support for creating a new revenue source by signing on as well. The expected ordinance number is 2022-81. We don't have the specific text, but that will be subject to amendments anyway. So I wanted to let you just know a few things you can do. I don't want to take much more time, but I'm going to share a screen that you can read and distribute this one-page description. And Rob, I don't know if we can send this out to the whole coalition, but if we could, that would be, whoops, I didn't share my screen. I got ready to do it. Hold on just a sec. I have to stretch myself out here a bit. All right. Okay.
There we go.
Let me move it around here. So this,
there we go.
I can move it. Let's see. All right. So this one page, it has two sides to it, but it includes the information that I didn't present, which is what does this tax do? What kind of money can we expect it to bring in? What is the situation that it addresses? And so this would be something you could use yourself or share with others who may not know about it, or might not know the advantages of this. And so here on the back side of it is the way to get involved. You can contact Pierce County Council in support of it, and you can sign on to the letter. There is a live link there that can be used. And it makes the point very clearly that a whole lot of other counties and cities in Western Washington only, there are 9 counties and 21 cities that currently support this. In terms of the sign-on letter, Rob said this morning in checking the sign-ons, we have over 240 already signed in on that. So this is a really good way for, especially if we represent education, healthcare, building, whatever kind of groups we're part of, that we could show that all kinds of people support this. So that's, I think I'll stop sharing the screen there. And Rob, if you can let us know how I can make this available to people, that'd be great.
Sure. And there's a couple of things you could do. You could either email it to me and I can send it out to the list, or you can email it to the mailing list yourself, or you could actually drop it in the chat potentially too. So
I'll try to do the best I can. So that's one thing you can do. Sign the letter of support. Then there's a study session at 9:30 on December 6th. And if you can attend that and speak in support, or just send a note to that group that you supported. It's not necessary to have 100 people there, but we'd like to have some. And then at the council meeting itself, at 3 p.m. on December 13th, the council will take this up as an item of business. I know some of you were at the time that the council considered the 0.1% of 1% for mental health, and that was like 110 people or so testifying. It was a very long night. I don't know what to predict here, but we can participate by Zoom. And some of you may have received an invitation to do this already, so I thank you for doing that. And the Revenue for Housing group will keep on meeting. So if you're interested in dealing more with this, whatever the outcome is, just put your information to me in the chat and I will make sure that you get a Zoom link to that. And when you discuss this tax in our breakouts today, which is the focus we have put for it, be sure to share any ideas your group has about how to talk with other people about the potential and the limitations of a sales tax, which always affects poor people more as a means to countering poverty. That seems a little ironic in words, but it may lead you to a new passion to get involved with somebody else who perhaps who's working on trying to change the taxing system in Washington State. In the meantime, it's a tool we have. That's the story I can tell about its position right now, and want to encourage us all to be supportive of this one way to get some stable funds to begin to address housing problems. So I think I'll stop there and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Rosemary. Thanks for that overview. And I did see Carolyn Reed, you're in the meeting. Do you want to add anything? And you might not be in a spot where you can chat, so it's fine if you can't.
No, thank you very much for the opportunity to add something. You know, we've been working on this for 2 years, and it would be so wonderful for us to get this over the finish line and start setting a precedence that the county is putting a little skin into the game. And I think most want to do that. And the most powerful thing about this tax, even though it's 20 million a year, which isn't enough to fill the gap of what's needed of over 600 million, but you can leverage other monies. So this can be match money for grants. It can be, you know, bonded against, gives them a lot of flexibility. So I highly encourage you. The link did not work for the sign-on letter, Rob, but I'm going to assume you can put that in. But if you are able to sign it and able to come to the meeting, that would show great support. And we would just love to see this happen. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm going to just quickly put the sign on link into the chat again for folks. It should be functioning. So, so let's move toward our breakout discussion. First, before we get there, I want to see if Timothy has a moment to kind of provide a quick overview of our discussion from last time, and I'm going to share it on the screen while you talk through it, Timothy.
Okay. All right. So this was a couple of weeks ago now. Oh, just a second. I'm like looking at my screen, so I had to escape from full screen to actually look at the document. Okay, I'm done talking to myself. I can talk to you all now. So it was a couple of weeks ago that we had this discussion, and we talked about basically the dilemma of campsites being fragmented into smaller sites and how to deal with that and how to do outreach to these smaller sites, and the sort of broader question of doing street outreach and what people need. So it begins, as always, with a recapitulation of the great poem that Rosemary offered to center our thoughts. And then there is an alphabetized list of various outreach items that people brought up specifically, followed by a bunch of general outreach advice that I'll just go through, touch on really lightly. You know, everybody loves hand warmers. The hygiene cold weather kits are a standard that people always love to receive. This advice that's come up here before, think about what people actually need, not just what you want to bring. Nutritional things rather than maybe donuts, stuff like that. list out key items to provide, and listen to people to figure out what that is. Collaborations are essential. Freeze-dried food is great because it's easy to prepare and super lightweight. You can carry a lot of it with you when you're out doing your outreach. Caution when you're doing your outreach. It can be dangerous out there. Some urgency from moving to the by name list and doing the work to make that possible. I'm just going to skip down. Some stuff about tent fires and using hand sanitizer, and some recommendations to maybe help people find new places to go. And then people talked about the onesie and twosie dilemma in particular, and I took those comments and just sort of put them all together. There's some great advice in there about how to particularly work with the smaller encampments. There is a whole list of specific resources that people mentioned that are available. So you can look through those and see if there's anything there that applies to you. And then finally, I put an advocacy take action item at the end, not because it came up in the discussion, but because we all need to take action. So another opportunity there. And that's the summary.
Great. Thank you as always, Timothy. And even though it's been a couple of weeks, this information is really important. So thank you for pulling that together.
Always.
Great. So let's shift over to do a breakout conversation for this week. So what we wanted to do is double back and talk about carve out 15 minutes for folks to talk about the topic of how will you talk with friends and neighbors, friends and family about the potential for a Pierce County affordable housing sales tax. Our hope is that folks will have an opportunity in these small breakouts to share their thoughts and some ideas for ways that to talk and build support for additional funding for affordable housing. And as Rosemary said, talk about the issues around the limitation that unfortunately we have to use sales tax as the vehicle to raise funds for this. So let me set up our breakout rooms, and I'm going to, as always, urge that in your breakout room, if somebody could be assigned to take notes, that'd be great, because we will come back here and paste those notes into the chat so that Timothy can roll together everything for a summary at next week's meeting. And again, a reminder, the notes are the key to Timothy being able to do a good summary. So let's head off to rooms. We'll come back here at 10 o'clock. Away we go. Welcome back, everyone. And this is one of the best parts of the meeting because everybody's cameras are on when you return. So it's a bonus. There's actual people in this meeting. That's awesome. So reminder, whoever was taking notes in your chat room, please take a moment to paste those into the chat, and so that Timothy can do his magic. And we will move on. Hopefully that was a good conversation. We actually had a full 15 minutes today. So hopefully it was a good opportunity also just to touch base and network, something that we miss because we're in virtual space rather than meeting in real space right now. So let's move on to our regular government updates. Do we have, I think I heard Matthew from the city of Tacoma is going to be here today. Matthew, are you on the call?
Yep, I'm here, Rob.
Oh, thank you, Matthew. Any updates from the city?
Yes, good morning, everyone. Matthew Jorgensen from the Neighborhood and Community Services Department with the city of Tacoma. I just didn't want to give folks a few updates, and then kind of wanted to walk through some of the camping ban questions as well, as much as I can answer them. Just a reminder that capacity for cold weather has been expanded by 125 beds. So the rescue mission is operating the Holy Rosary shelter through March of 2023, which is basically 50 seasonal beds. And then in addition to that, the rescue mission downtown campus and nativity house will be operating when that, when we hit that threshold of 35 degrees with rain and snow and colder. So that's going to be an additional 75 overflow beds. And we've also opened the Lighthouse Activity Center as a warming center just during daytime hours. That's going to be open through tomorrow from 8:30 to 5 p.m. And then I don't know, as far as encampment removals go, I don't know if Caleb's brought it up before in previous meetings, but the scheduled encampment cleanups are listed on the city's website at cityofTacoma.org/encampments. It also lists the standard operating procedures for the encampment removal process, but I'll also put a direct link in the chat for those scheduled encampment removals. So from my understanding, how the process currently works is that folks staying in the encampments within a 10-block radius are given an initial notice that they're within a prohibited area. And then once all those encampments in a given 10-block radius are given notice, what we're calling sufficient notice, those folks in those encampments will then be given a second notice with a posting date for encampment removal. The current focus area is in the 10-block radius around 35th and Pacific, with the ongoing encampment cleanup at 34th and Pacific, and the cleanup of the encampment along South Tacoma Way between Pacific Avenue and M Street, scheduled to begin today. And just so you know, as listed on our website, the next 10-block radius area scheduled to be given notice will be surrounding the stability site. And it's my understanding that the schedule posted on the website isn't necessarily set in stone, but will be updated if and when things change. So I'm happy to answer any questions I can possibly answer, and thanks for having me today.
Thanks, Matthew. I do see Ryan has the hand up, and then Jay.
Hi, Matthew. I was just curious because, through the fall, the city's been rather aggressive, the sweeps and moving a lot of folks. Could we kind of put a line in the sand to say, okay, after this date, we're going to take a holiday on sweeps until, February, just to allow people during the cold weather to kind of stay where they are. They finally get protection and some shelter from the cold, and then we pick them up and move them, and they lose all that stuff, and then they're blanket in a doorway. So, I know that there's forces on both sides, want them moved, but, after this fall, it'd be really kind of nice to just say, hey, we're going to let people shelter in place to stay warm and survive the winter. And then we can, go back to business as usual.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. I can definitely bring that feedback back to leadership.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing that up, Ryan. I appreciate that idea. Jay?
I just wanted to thank Matthew for being here and remind everybody that he is very new to the position and is missing quite a bit of information and is learning his way with us. And so if we could be kind and ask questions and regards and see where we can go with good communication with Matthew, it would be super appreciated.
Thank you, Jay.
Thanks, Jay. Others with questions about the camping ban and schedule for Matthew? Matthew, if you have a moment, if you could paste the link to the webpage where we can find that information, it'd be helpful. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, so there is that the city website, like cityofTacoma.org/encampments. But then the schedule is actually just a link on the left side, but this is the direct link to that page.
Matthew,
So
could you have your contact information too for any questions that we're working on trying to word?
Yeah, for sure.
So the link maybe I'm not seeing the right thing. The link I see on the left side. Oh, I just clicked on the wrong link, I guess. No? Oh, I guess I do see a schedule. If you scroll all the way to the bottom of the page. Got it. All right. Well, if others have questions for Matthew, if you want to use the chat, that would be great. Let's move on to the latest updates from Pierce County Human Services. Jeff, any updates for us?
Yes, good morning. We're planning for the 2023 annual homeless point in time count that's coming in January. So mark your calendars. January 26th, the last Thursday in the month of January, is the date that the point in time count will take place. We're finalizing the materials on our website. I will put a link in the chat to our website where you can register if you want to volunteer, and anyone participating must register, must go through training, and you would just need to go to our website and fill out the registration form, and then you'll be contacted as to how to proceed from there. So we need volunteers. We'll be doing the count Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening, and Friday morning. So you can find the details on our website, and I'll make sure that once our public service announcement is finalized by our communications team, that I'll send it to the whole listserv so you have that as well. But I'll place our current information link in the chat.
Thank you, Jeff. Just for some perspective, do you have a kind of target of how many volunteers you're looking to line up for this year's point in time count?
That's the $1 million question. We don't have a specific target number at this time. Usually we have between 200 and 300 people that volunteer. The last year in January of 2022, we had way less volunteers due to COVID. And the year before that, we didn't do a count due to COVID. And historically before that, we would typically have had, I don't know, between 250 and maybe 350 people, somewhere in that range of people that would volunteer for the point in time count. So we're working on it, identifying areas to be covered, and we'll figure all that out. So we're looking for at least several hundred people to volunteer.
Great. Well, as soon as those materials are finalized, we'll make sure to spread the word through the coalition mailing list and that sort of thing. So.
I hope I'm successful. Oh, I was successful. Okay, I put the link in the chat for our website.
Perfect. All right. So let's see. I saw Valerie on the call earlier. Valerie, any updates you needed to share with us?
Good morning. Just that we plan to open the permanent rental assistance program around January 3rd. If that changes, we'll be sure to let you know. The requirements and eligibility should be coming out here in the next couple weeks. And we hired a new rental assistant staff member. So I am no longer flying solo after 5 months, or 6 months at this point. Super excited. Her name is Caress. She's amazing. And I will have her pop in to say hello. But all your communications will still go through me. We don't want to bog her down just yet. So that's it for me.
You don't want to throw her to the wolves yet?
I don't. I want to bring up the full training and do the whole great experience first day. You know me, Rob. I trained 100 people at the last job.
All right. Thank you, Valerie. And I know we have multiple folks on here from the Tacoma Pierce County Health Department. Who wants to talk to us?
I think we all do. Jenny, you want to go first?
I'll start, I guess. Hi, everyone. Jenny Sheppy, Tacoma Pierce County Health Department, communicable disease. I know folks are very, very focused on the weather right now, rightfully, and keeping people safe and alive. But here I am over here banging the drum for communicable disease prevention as well. Just always here doing that. You should have all received a Gov Delivery, our official TPCHD email service from me, hopefully today. It's got lots of COVID and flu resources in it, so I won't go into detail right now. But with more folks being inside, coming inside to warming centers and such, I want to make sure that folks reach out to me if you need masks. I have a surplus of masks right now, and I can meet up with you. I can deliver. We just want to make sure that with more folks hopefully, thankfully inside warming up, that we do still keep mindful about disease spread and trying to get folks to encourage folks to wear masks, especially if you have symptoms.
We are showing though, with our COVID data shows that a low, steady rate of hospitalizations, which is great news. So things are staying really, really steady there. We have a lot of flu and RSV, other viral, respiratory diseases circulating through the community right now, which are putting a strain on our hospital system. So again, in my email, there's a lot more information and links how you can learn more about RSV and flu and prevention. But we're having a great winter season. We've been talking about, we went straight from summer to winter, it seems like this year, unfortunately. Working on some flu clinics, adult vaccine clinic happening at Tacoma Rescue Mission next week. And so far that's just for Tacoma Rescue Mission guests and their outreach team to get the word out. But I'm hoping that I'm working with TRM to see if that can be opened up to other folks to come in to get flu vaccine. And I will keep this group updated on that. Monkeypox, which is now called Mpox, slow, steady, plateaued, basically not a huge concern, but I can share the vaccine page if you know folks that are eligible. And finally, we're still really concerned about congenital syphilis in the community. Our STD team did do a lot of outreach and get folks connected with testing at the 14th and G site before that was swept. But if you have questions, I'm going to put the names of a couple of our STD team members in the chat, and you can feel free to reach out to them directly or reach out to me and I'll connect you if you're more comfortable with that. And I will turn it over to Adam and team, unless anyone has communicable disease related questions for me.
Give folks a second to see if they have any questions. Patricia, I see your hands up.
Looks like you're good to go.
Patricia, do you have something for me or? Okay. All right. Go for it, Adam. Take care, everybody.
Good morning, everyone. Adam Reichenberger. I use he, him pronouns, housing policy coordinator with Tacoma Pierce County Health Department over in the Environmental Health Division, EH, as we toss around a lot and confuse people who don't know these terminology and acronyms. Hi, Valerie. The Environmental Health Division has activated with the cold weather response. We've been participating in the inclement weather morning meetings and will continue to do so. A couple other things, we're still having our winter cold weather clothing drive going on at our D Street location, trying to collect items there. It sounded like in this morning's meeting that another clothing item that's kind of being missed right now, I believe Courtney had mentioned hats. So I just want to make sure that we clarify that's cold weather winter hats that cover your ears, I think was a need. So if there's any other needs like that, please feel free to drop them in the chat. I think we are pretty plugged into that needs, uses, needs, and haves list that Jay has put together. So you can also just put them there and we'll be able to read through that and encourage health department folks to identify those items and deliver those items if they can. This morning, our new colleague, Isaiah Cocroft, who joined earlier this week, helped to deliver backpacks to the Lived Experience Coalition that had winter weather gear and some medical supplies. Some folks, I hope, got to meet him in person, and he was also able to attend the Collaboration for a Cause event yesterday where we passed out some cold weather gear and information. One of the other things that's also relevant to this larger group, we are ordering cold weather injury kind of like wallet cards that are, I believe they're supposed to be weather resistant for folks to be able to carry with them to hand out to folks who are on the street to help them be prepared for signs of hypothermia, frostbite, that type of thing, to be able to respond and move quickly if need be. So the other big news, which I mentioned, Isaiah Cocroft has joined our team earlier this week as our environmental health homeless liaison. So similar to Jenny's role as kind of this group's point of contact for communicable disease concerns, Isaiah in the future will be your point of contact for environmental health concerns. So thinking about inclement weather, particularly cold weather, warm weather, if wildfires smoke, if there's, if we get into some type of like water contamination and stuff like that, he'll be the point of contact there. So we're super excited to have him on board. He's here today, and I just want to let him come He's already on camera, so I'll let him introduce himself and say hi.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. So as he said before, he basically just took my entire introduction away from me. So that's cool. But so yeah, I'm Isaiah Calcroft. I have met some of you here and there. I met Courtney earlier today. So I think Courtney's around here somewhere. Like he mentioned, we dropped off some cold weather supplies like backpacks and blankets and things like that sort. So that was really awesome to do. It's my 4th day, I believe. So I got here on Tuesday. So I'm still really new, just trying to get caught up to speed with everything we're doing over here at the health department and just meeting everybody. But I put my I put my email and my phone number in the chat earlier. I can put it again too, because I know the chat usually it gets filled out really quickly here. But I'm so open to like meeting with people. I would just love to chat with folks, even like in groups or one-on-one, to kind of get your perspective and just hear what kind of work you're doing. I've been a provider here in Pierce County for a little bit here, so I've come from more of the social work perspective, but I would love to hear more about what y'all are doing in the public health field and whatnot. So I'll go ahead and put that in. But like I said, my door is pretty open. I'm still onboarding, but my schedule is somewhat flexible. So if anyone wants to reach out to me, I'm more than happy to do that.
Great, and welcome to the group, Isaiah. Courtney, you have your hand up.
Yes, Isaiah, I meant to ask this morning when I met you, and it was very nice to meet you. As the homelessness liaison person, by chance, do you have lived experience that you're willing to talk about?
Lived experiencing homelessness?
Yeah.
I do, yes, but I really don't want to go into it too much, but many years ago, yes, when I was a teenager, I did experience homelessness.
Thank you.
Well, we're glad to have you here, Isaiah, and welcome to the new job. All right, and I would call on somebody from Pierce County Emergency Management. I think Ivan was here through the breakout sessions, but he needed to leave. So I don't believe we have anyone else from Department of Emergency Management, but let me pause here for a moment just in case. All right, so that is not the case. So briefly, I wanted to offer something for our advocacy updates. We talked quite a bit earlier this morning. Thank you, Rosemary, for framing the opportunity to advocate around the affordable housing sales tax. So that I'm not going to reiterate that information here, but I do want to let folks know that the Pierce County Comprehensive Plan Advisory Board is meeting this afternoon from 1 to 3. If you have the time to attend, it would be a good one to tune into. The reason I say that is that the bulk of the meeting is going to be a report from Social Change Partners, the consultant that has been looking at recommendations to the county regarding the first item on the county's priority list for the comp plan, which is creating a unified regional approach to homelessness. And that is going to be the key piece of the presentation today. I just put a link in the chat that points to the comp plan website. If you scroll down, the direct link to the implementation advisory board meeting is at the bottom or near the bottom of that page. Here is the direct link to the Zoom. However, it's not going to be that useful at this moment because there's nobody in the Zoom. But that will be the link you can use at 1 o'clock to join the advisory board meeting. Again, it's going to be a 2-hour meeting. So if you have the capacity, it'll be good to hear what the conversation is around recommendations for the unified regional approach. I have read the draft version of the report. That report, after it comes out of draft, will be presented to the full Pierce County Council. So it will help inform what the Pierce County Council decides to do regarding the 3 options that are laid out in the draft report. I can share that information with this full coalition next week if we have time on the agenda. So that's something to look forward to next week. Anything else for advocacy updates? Sally, anything that we've missed that would be good? I actually didn't have time this morning to look at the city of Tacoma's calendar. So
they did their housing action strategy stuff a couple of weeks ago, and I would urge people to read that document. There's a lot of good kind of goal language in there. What I'm trying to figure out is what the metrics ought to be for seeing how progress is being made on the goals. So I'm kind of just playing around with it because I'm personally interested in that. But I think in terms of holding the city accountable for doing what they say they want to do in that action strategy, those of us who are interested in being part of the accountability conversation need to be pretty focused on what we want to see come out of that work. And that's not fully spelled out yet. So I'd encourage people to take a look at that document. It came out about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Okay, great. And Richard, I see you mentioned the Housing Alliance public policy priorities for 2023. We are going to have a full presentation of those priorities at next week's coalition meeting.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
Poe was unavailable. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So we're going to have a number. We're going to actually end up with a bit of an advocacy heavy agenda for next week. Well, barring strangeness with weather, who knows what kind of brimstone is coming next. But so we'll be flexible. But I do anticipate having my colleague, coworker Poe, come talk about through the various items that are in the Washington Low Income Housing Alliance's priorities for 2023. And of course, the Washington State Legislative Session, which is a long session this year, is coming up on January 9th. So there's going to be lots of work and lots of advocacy updates in our future. Let's shift over to an update from the Safe Sites for All group.
Yes. If Paula is still here, maybe she can give a brief report. I know that we are looking for more partners out, both in the city and in the county, that are willing to let us help them manage a safe parking lot, especially now during inclement weather. Our safe parking sites are talking individually about bringing folks in from cars into their churches. That is entirely up to them. That's their choice. And we want to be as supportive as possible during inclement weather. So Paula, if you're here, do you want to step in here? If anybody has any suggestion of a new site or new partner, please get in touch with us. Paula, take it away.
Yeah, just like I said, in the inclement weather, we're filling up our safe parking lots. We're getting people in 2s and 3s. It seems like there's more people that are coupled up or bringing a daughter or son or things like that. So we do have family spots available still. Still working with the school district on placing people where one of our families is going to get placed here in the next week. We're really excited about that. So, yeah, we are definitely looking for more sites. I'm also continuing to look because we are getting the grant from the State Department of Commerce for a 20 RV spot location. I'm just going to throw it out to everybody. We are looking for a place potentially that has already paved parking lot big enough to have 20 RVs in it. We have money to do some capital improvements to the property. So if it's leased, you know, we can do some temporary improvements. And we are hopefully going to find a property that has an empty building on it as well, because there will be on-site case management. And with the RV lot, we're looking at 24/7 security, fencing around it, that type of thing. So we're really going to make it safe and palatable to the area that we're in. We are continuing to look. My program manager, Jeff's been out every day for the last 2 weeks looking at different locations. And one of the things that the draft ordinance that the council is reviewing, I think this month, for safe parking included was a map, and a lot of the areas that they were looking at that would be good for safe parking are all along the Pacific Avenue Spanaway area. So if anybody knows any buildings out there that might be a good fit for what I just described, please contact me. I'll put my email in the chat.
Thank you, Paula, and thank you to Jan as well. Let's see. Next on our agenda, we wanted to carve out some time to start talking about resources that we know folks are going to be making available in the community for the upcoming Christmas holiday, Christmas and New Year's holiday. I think we can take a lesson from last year. Last year we had inclement weather hit the day after Christmas and roll all the way through New Year's. And we know that there's always a great need during that part of the year anyway, but we also potentially could be seeing that kind of weather issue popping up as well. And Todd is on brand since we're talking about Christmas resources. I love it. So I thought I would just open the floor if folks wanted to share either on screen, verbally, or in chat of resources, food, clothing, whether areas are doing adopt families, gift trees. I know that Teresa would love to mention 99 Stockings Project again. Any of those things, what I'm wanting to do is to pull the information from the chat and put together a resource list that we can link to from the coalition website. So I open the floor. Anybody have anything that they're planning to do for the Christmas holiday time? And I know we just came off of one holiday, but this is what happens this year, this time of year. Courtney.
It's less about a plan and more about the opportunity for planning, since Teresa's hand came up just after mine. I would have let her go first. At First United Methodist Church, where we now have our official office, there's also an underutilized commercial kitchen. So there are possibilities that we can do there. We just have to come up with a plan and have it approved both through the LEC and then the church community as well. So there's potential.
Great. And I know it is a little bit early. I also heard the criticism the last month that we were asking similar questions about Thanksgiving too soon. So Teresa.
So you're right. I always want to talk about 99 Stockings, and I want to thank people already who have been providing things, but I have two other things. One is that this is, for those of you who don't know, this is the quick thing. We put together bags and stockings, mainly bags, that go out to people who are unsheltered on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. We work that out with whoever is delivering them. And we also take some smaller things to the shelters. So if you're involved in any of those things, like I was thinking about, we haven't done it for FOB, Hope, but that's something, if they're interested, we could look at. So if you're in a situation like that where you might like to have some of these, let me know. And what I do is expand this to the space available for people who are willing to do these things. Sometimes the bags are kind of smallish, sometimes they're giant. It kind of depends on who shows up, but we make sure that all of the bags that go to any particular site are really similar. So we actually have a Boy Scout troop working with us this year, one that Garrett is working with. So if you know of a group like that who might be willing to put together 30 bags and then deliver them either to me, and I would be the person who would get it connected to the outreach worker, anything like that, or if you know somebody who loves to knit, or somebody who can cut fleece scarves out of some fleece material that we got donated, or anybody in the community, this is a really cool way to get people who want to put their toe in the water to do a little something that has an impact and brings a smile on a face on Christmas. So that's kind of what we're about, is trying to connect the community with some basic needs and a little bit of chocolate and that sort of thing on the holidays. I'm going to put my email in the chat. Anything helps. Happy to have as many people involved as possible. If you only want to put together one bag, I might be able to connect you with some other people who would put together others with you. So be in touch, and thanks.
Thank you, Teresa. And thank you also to folks who are putting things in the chat. Rosemary.
I just wanted to add that one of the things that's really been special when we can do it with this project is to provide a small gift card for a coffee shop that people can legitimately be in to get some kind of warmth. So if you know of people who really don't have time for creating things, but have a little of extra funds they might want to donate, indicating that it's for that purpose would also be very much appreciated.
Yeah, thank you for that reminder as well, Rosemary. And Paula, your mention of gift cards, McDonald's, coffee, all those kinds of things can be very helpful. I don't know if Red Elm does gift cards, Timothy, but it sounds like a good excuse to go to Red Elm and ask.
I have asked them, and they're very kind. They do a lot of, I don't know if all of you know that Red Elm does a lot of stuff of helping people who are homeless. They let people come in often, but one of the things they don't want to do is create even more of that, because they're handling what they're handling really well. So I asked them, and they, instead of giving me gift cards for this project, they gave me some gift cards for some people who are in a transitional house. Anyway, just, yes, good place to support, but I have asked.
And that's a good reminder too, that another thing that we can all do as individuals, of course, it doesn't directly aid people who are on the streets maybe, but we can donate to the organizations that do outreach, make sure that they have the supplies that they need. Every nonprofit is always asking for financial end of year gifts to help with their work. And so that's another option if you don't have the ability to do things directly. Yeah, Lovato, you're right on buying gift cards from Red Elm. All right, so I don't want to belabor this too much, but I did want to plant the seed and get people thinking. And there's also plenty of opportunity to raise this topic if something else comes up on the mailing list. The coalition mailing list has 700 folks on it, and planting the seed to see what we can grow for the holiday season there might be helpful too. So if somebody wants to take that on, that would be good too. Let's shift over, since things have slowed down a little bit, to talk about any good trouble announcements, things that people want to share with the 54 of us who are still here in the room. Just go ahead and raise your hand or come off mute and let us know what you wanted to share. Or maybe we're all worn out from the cold. Yeah, Teresa.
I didn't want to raise my hand until everyone else had a chance. So think about what you might want to say while I do this. Some of us have been talking about the way that hand sanitizer gets used for cooking. And Cheryl Hill gave me these. And I wanted to ask for creative ideas. It seems to me that this might be a good thing to use, but it would need something here so that the air could come into the fire while the pot was on it. So I just want to put it out there. I've got a whole box of these. If somebody's more creative than I am and can think of something to do, it's got a really nice insulated lid that if you put it on top, it would douse the fire instantly, which is one of the things I was hoping for. So it's an opportunity. I'm very happy to pass this opportunity on to someone who is interested in working on it, but just know that they're here and be in touch. I already put my email in the chat.
Great. And Jeffrey, I see your hand up.
Yes, I would like to say that I had a wonderful meeting yesterday with Allison Griffith and hang on, get my notes here. Jana Magoon, who is the is head of permits at in the city of Tacoma yesterday. We had a very good discussion about safe parking in Tacoma and whether permits are needed or not. A document will be presented for my perusal in about 3 weeks. It will be a draft to see what they're saying. But at this point, if a church doesn't have campers there 24 hours, but lets them in the evening, lets them out in the morning, there will be no need for permitting, which is a huge, huge step for getting safe parking in Tacoma. And all Tacoma says is just let us know you're doing it, but there's no need for a permit. So that was yesterday. And I just got an email from the county on the point in time count, and I'm now signed up for the point in time count. So, and I've done this for 5 years. Please, please, please sign up for the point in time count. We need more and more and more volunteers.
Thank you, Jeffrey. And anyone else with items for the good of the order? Gerald, I see you were able to join us. Any updates you want to offer from Rise?
Oh. Hey, happy holidays, everyone. I knew I should have kept my camera off and erased my name, Rob. Thanks. No, we're chugging along. We had a couple of hiccups still trying to get the shelter up, but we're working through those things. Yeah, just a couple of normal hiccups, but they're coming along. But what we've done, we've increased our capacity inside our facility. So the ones that we have listed to be first on the list, but some of them we're getting housed right now, so that list keeps dwindling. But we're housing them inside now is one of the reasons we didn't open up shelter. So rather than having people staying out trying to figure out if they're going to have a stabilization situation or shelter, we brought them inside, so they live here inside with us now. So that's our update.
Awesome.
Man,
awesome.
How do you erase
Thanks.
your name? How do you erase your name in your picture?
I see everything, Gerald. I see it all. Jan, I see you have your hand up.
Thank you. And I hope I'm not on mute still. Okay.
Nope, you're not.
Thank you. Two things. One, I'm going to come to all of you and ask you for some sort of a letter of support. LAHSA is trying to create 25 units of affordable housing, and we have so far received $3.5 million from the county. I've overheard a city council person say they don't know how this impacts people on the street. And so I can talk to them about that until I'm blue in the face. But I think if we were to get a letter of support saying that housing that a place that provides housing for people in the 30 to 50% AMI range directly impacts homelessness. So that's my first thought. And then secondly, I want to let everyone know that if you go on to LAHSA's website, and it may not be up until tomorrow or the next day, but we have a job announcement that we're going to be looking for a new executive director. So I would encourage you to get that out to anyone and everyone you think that may be interested. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for those updates, Jan, and I'm sure folks would be willing to sign on to support the housing development. Anyone else with items for the good of the order? All right. So how about success stories? I know I just want to call out at least twice we have heard folks today mentioning people getting into housing. Jessica Hall mentioned that earlier. Gerald just mentioned it as well. So there's clearly good news to celebrate, but anyone else with the success story they would like to share?
Apparently you can't see my
You
actual
got
hand.
Monique, yeah.
Oh, sorry. I
Yeah,
was,
Rob.
yeah,
See, Rob,
multitasking too much.
So
I
this
don't
week,
see y'all. Yeah.
this week, Tammy and her crew housed number 24. Number 24 was one of the toughest to house, and he got in with Ryan. So we're very happy about that.
That sounds like a double win to me.
Yes.
Fantastic. All right. Anybody else want to share a success story before we close out the regular part of today's meeting? All right. And I want to thank everybody for being here. We still have 51 of us in the room, so thanks for sticking with us. We will be back here next Friday. And if you have an interest in helping plan that meeting for next Friday, those who have the ability will hang on the line, and we'll start here for the planning meeting in about 5 minutes. For the rest of you, have a great weekend, stay warm, stay dry, and we'll see you next week.